It started innocently enough. Rex Ryan leaned forward with his trademark smirk, that mix of confidence and authority that's made him a television regular, and launched into his take. He claimed that Shedeur Sanders wasn't living up to the hype, that he talked too much, acted too cocky, and wasn't showing the discipline or humility expected of an NFL quarterback in waiting. He painted Sanders as a player more focused on image than improvement, calling out his body language, his swagger, and his confidence as if they were character flaws. It was the kind of old-school, tough-love monologue Rex had delivered 1,000 times before. But this time, it was about to backfire in the most spectacular way possible. Michael Irvin, sitting just a few feet away, went completely still. His eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched, and before anyone in the studio could take a breath, he exploded with the kind of emotion that makes sports television unforgettable. What followed wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a full-blown verbal takedown. Irvin unleashed years of experience, frustration, and truth in a volcanic outburst that scorched the entire set. His voice rose with every word, his hands moved with purpose, his passion filled every inch of the room. You could feel that this wasn't just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. This was about something deeper: respect, culture, and the unspoken double standards that still hang over modern athletes. Irvin called out Rex on everything: the outdated mentality, the lack of empathy, and the hypocrisy of criticizing a confident young athlete for showing passion and personality. He reminded Rex that quarterbacks, perhaps more than any other position in sports, need confidence like oxygen. Without it, they crumble. With it, they lead. Irvin's voice boomed as he reminded everyone that football isn't just about X's and O's, it's about fire, belief, and swagger. And in that moment, Rex looked like a man who had just realized. He'd walked into a debate armed with a water pistol while his opponent had brought a flamethrower. Irvin wasn't defending Sanders as a fan, and he was defending him as someone who's lived the game. He spoke with the conviction of a man who knows what it feels like to be criticized for being too loud, too emotional, too confident. He made it clear that Shedeur's swagger wasn't arrogance, it was armor. The kind you need when you're carrying not only your team's expectations, but your family's legacy. Because for Shedeur, being the son of Deion Sanders means every single move he makes is magnified 1,000 times. Every gesture, every smirk, every celebration becomes a headline. And Irvin wasn't going to let anyone, not even a respected figure like Rex Ryan, diminish that with lazy criticism disguised as football insight. As Irvin's voice thundered through the studio, Rex began to shrink back in his seat. Gone was the smirk, replaced by a nervous glance and a faint attempt to defend himself. But every time Rex tried to interject, Irvin shut him down, his tone sharper, his logic stronger, his passion unmatched. You could almost see the camera operators freeze, unsure whether to zoom in on Irvin's fiery intensity or Rex's slow-motion defeat. It was more than a debate, it was theater, and Irvin was the undisputed star. The moment that truly broke the internet came when Irvin called out Rex for his hypocrisy. He reminded everyone watching that Rex Ryan was never exactly the model of restraint himself. This was the same coach who made headlines for wild locker room antics, outrageous predictions, and a personality louder than a stadium crowd. For Rex to criticize another man's confidence was like a fire truck complaining about noise. Irvin didn't just highlight that irony, he stomped it into the ground. Every word hit like a linebacker's tackle, and the more Irvin spoke, the more it became clear that this was about something far bigger than two men arguing over football. Irvin's rant tapped into the heart of a generational shift happening in sports. The old guard still wants quiet professionals who celebrate modestly, speak humbly, and never step out of line. But today's athletes, players like Shedeur Sanders, are redefining what it means to compete. They bring personality, style, and charisma to the field because they understand that sports aren't just about the scoreboard anymore. They're about culture. They're about expression. And Irvin was determined to make sure that message came through loud and clear. He turned directly to the camera, speaking not just to Rex, but to every critic watching at home. He said that the same people who praise Tom Brady for screaming in passion or celebrate Joe Burrow for his swagger suddenly call Shedeur arrogant for doing the exact same thing. The double standard was obvious, and Irvin was done pretending it wasn't. Every line he delivered cut deeper, every point hit harder, until the room itself felt electric with tension. You could practically feel the audience at home sitting up, nodding and thinking, "He's right." As Irvin went on, you could see something incredible happening. This wasn't just a defense of Shedeur Sanders. It was a defense of every young athlete who's been told to tone it down, to act smaller, to dim their light just to make others comfortable. Irvin was speaking for a new generation of players who understand that confidence isn't disrespect. It's survival. The world already doubts them enough. Why shouldn't they believe in themselves loudly, unapologetically, and without restraint? By the time Irvin finished, the studio was silent, except for his voice echoing through the set. Even Rex, red-faced and defeated, had no comeback left. You could see on his face that he realized this wasn't about him anymore. It was about the culture of the sport changing in real time, and he had just been made the symbol of everything outdated about it. The aftermath was immediate. Social media erupted, clips of the confrontation spreading like wildfire across every platform. Fans were calling it one of the greatest live TV moments in sports media history. Hashtags like Ois Team Irvin and Let Shedeur Shine started trending within hours. Even current and former players jumped in, praising Irvin for saying what so many have wanted to say for years. It wasn't just a viral moment. It was a movement. The irony of it all? In trying to humble Shedeur Sanders, Rex Ryan actually made him even more popular. The clip of Irvin's passionate defense became a rallying cry for every player who's ever been told to be quiet, to stop celebrating or to act like you've been there before. It reminded everyone that sports aren't meant to be robotic. They're meant to be human, emotional, alive. And Shedeur, with his calm swagger and effortless confidence, embodies that perfectly. Michael Irvin's eruption that day wasn't just entertainment. It was truth dressed in passion. It was a reminder that the game needs characters, energy, and yes, a little bit of drama. Because without that, football becomes just another job. Irvin reminded the world that it's supposed to be something bigger, a spectacle, a story, a symbol of individuality meeting discipline. And Shedeur Sanders, whether you like it or not, represents the future of that balance. So the next time someone calls him cocky for celebrating or questions his confidence, they'll remember that day in the studio when Michael Irvin stood up and said what millions were thinking: swagger isn't a flaw. It's the heartbeat of greatness. And Rex Ryan, whether he likes it or not, ended up being the perfect example of why that truth needed to be said. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Michael Irvin right to go off like that, or did Rex Ryan have a point about humility in today's game? Should players like Shedeur Sanders tone it down, or is their confidence exactly what modern football needs? Let's hear your take in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest moments shaking up sports. Because if you thought this debate was wild, the next one might just be legendary.